Welcome to the Ecom Logistics Podcast, your go-to for e-commerce logistics insights, trends, successes, and lessons from the leaders and innovators in our space. What's next for Shipium? How do you see this industry evolving? And what are the challenges that you want to keep tackling?
I think at a high level, more tactical stuff. We have products coming out, and that's great. The thing that's been exciting is the approach is working. We've started to figure out how to make it go. The supply chain is such a target-rich environment for this kind of data science approach at the core of what we're trying to accomplish. Using analytics and science and shifting the larger industry towards this thinking. I always use the phrase turning stuff into math problems. At its core, that's what we're pushing on, and it'll happen in different ways. We'll have to keep iterating through what that means exactly, but I'm more convinced than ever that we have so much space on that kind of mentality of thinking. There's probably other parallel companies emerging. I think we've got this momentum going towards thinking of the world that lens, as opposed to more of an Amazon approach to a supply chain, as opposed to the way things were done historically. And I think that push is like what we're just going to keep pushing across all these different boundaries, whether it's customer experience or the execution piece, or what does the CFO care about, or even what's happening on the planning portion. I think we're trying to push into all those boundaries using these core principles, and I'm really excited about that whole journey.
Jason, that reminds me of a conversation that you and I have had a few times, which is a lot of the retailers, shippers, and e-commerce brands are lucky because even though there's a lot of competition, there are tools and technologies that are super niche and really good at solving very specific problems. We were talking about how as a retailer or brand, you don't have to pick the best of the best because it might not fit what you need. It's more about figuring out your specific needs and then see if you can add on all of these amazing solutions that just get bolted on, and you create your own, Frankenstein's monster that solves your specific problem. This is a privilege that a lot of companies did not have even 5-10 years ago. So to me, that feels like a real superpower. The ability to take data and pass it across all of these different systems and bring them together is easier than ever. So hopefully, as companies are exploring the market and seeing all these really amazing solutions, they're thinking about, okay, how do I trim the fat and just focus on building something that is really meaningful for me rather than best of breed? Just because it's on a quadrant somewhere doesn't mean you have to. We don't live in that world where nobody gets fired for picking IBM anymore.
The story of the internet overall has been you create this much richer data, right? And at some level, social media or people searching for very specific things in Google, it's kind of opened up these people's activities now. People's hobbies are more specific. How they self-identify is less kind of about averages and more about like people typically called like the long tail, right? At Amazon, we saw this a lot because a traditional super Walmart had maybe 100,000 SKUs and Amazon warehouses have millions, right? And people are buying across multiple with access to this larger set. And then you have what's being sourced from China or manufactured on demand. To me, it's like this space is representative of that, right? We're looking at the business models are getting more specific. They're targeting people in more, whether it be kind of advertising or kind of how you structure your business, it's more specific, right? Because of that, it would be surprising if it wasn't the other way around, where whatever you're trying to accomplish, you're going to have a little more bespoke in terms of how to optimize and run that, right? I totally agree. If you have a giant offering, there's going to be a lot more room for different approaches to how this stuff goes in, right?
Absolutely. Thanks for listening to the Ecom Logistics Podcast. If this episode brought you value, share it with your network and leave us a review. It really helps others discover the show and join in these conversations. And if your team is planning an event in 2025, consider partnering with Ecom Logistics Podcast. We're always looking for meaningful opportunities to elevate conversations shaping logistics and e-commerce. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and keep leading the way forward.